What a great day of worship we've had. An official welcome to Chris Nash and family. And Dale, Jan, and Gail, y'all just did a great job up there on that song as well. I do want us to remember we have this month, we're looking at our care for our community. When you take a satellite view of our area here, you realize that this rural church, once rural, you had to find it, well, you had to get lost in order to find it, is now in the middle of a growing population. And I would like for it to be, I don't care where they go, don't care what they believe, but I would love for everyone in the area to know there's a church that's around it. It's got to be, because things have changed in our area, our care for our community. We're looking at the book of Nehemiah, and there's a possibility of preaching that without ever getting into the Lord. It can just be a motivational kind of a message. But I want to tell you that God is all into caring for the community and seeking opportunity, which is today's message about the opportunity. Listen to Isaiah when it says, "Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." God is just saying, move forward. I will accomplish miracles and I'll do a new thing. Don't be afraid of it. Here's another one out of Isaiah. "The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought and strengthen your bones. You shall be like watered garden and like a spring of water whose waters do not fail." God is with us and God guides us. 1 Thessalonians 5:6. "Therefore let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober." God wants us to keep an eye out for the opportunities that are around us. Ephesians 5 this way. "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is." Perhaps one of my favorite passages, one of my favorite books in the Bible is Philippians, but one of my favorite passages, one of my favorite chapters is actually John 15. It goes like this: "Abide in me, and I abide in you. And I will purge you of the things that don't belong, that you will produce fruit." He wants us to be fruitful people. If I abide in you and you abide in me, and you let me purge you more of the things that don't belong in your life, I will give you much fruit so that you can ask what you will, and it shall be given unto you. James says, "You have not because you ask not." And today we're going to be looking at an Old Testament character whose name is Nehemiah, who lived 1,000 miles away from Jerusalem. And yet God used him as he sought opportunity to care for his community. Now, it's Nehemiah chapter 2, and it's all 20 verses, but we're not going to stand for that. I want you just to, I tell you what, we'll stand for one verse here, okay? You can stand for the prayer there in verse 12. Let's just read that one aloud. You can stand with me here as we show reverence for the Word of God. Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 12 goes like this: "Then I arose in the night, I and a few men with me. I told no one what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem, nor was there any animal with me except the one on which I rode." You may be seated. We looked at Nehemiah chapter 1 last week, and Nehemiah just simply introduces himself where he is. He's the cupbearer to the king. And if you recall, the cupbearer to the king was very important. There was nobody closer, more trusted than the cupbearer to the king. For in fact, if the king were to be poisoned, this man would die first, giving full warning to the king, do not drink this wine. Do not eat this food. Or in fact, the cupbearer to the king tasted it first. And you can always imagine, he's always looking for a smile and a thumbs up. This is okay. And Nehemiah just simply says, I was in exile under King Artaxerxes, and I'm the cupbearer to the king, and God burdened me about my community. In exile, far away from Jerusalem, and yet God is burdening him about his hometown and all of his brethren, the Israelites. I say to you, that first chapter says this: whoever you are, whatever you do, what resources are in your hands, you did not provide that. God created you in the womb, and you weren't there to tell him, well, I want to have this and this and this, but not this and this. God created you in the womb, and he created you uniquely, and he created you for a purpose. Every one of you are created for a purpose and a meaning. God has prepared you even in the womb. Then I believe, and one of my favorite verses is this, Romans 8:28. And we know, not and we think or hope, we know that all things are working together for good to those that love him and are called according to his purpose. There's no accidents. God's moving the pieces. God's putting you uniquely. I don't care how low you feel about yourself or how high you feel about yourself. God is in charge, and Nehemiah just simply says, and we know, because it mentions his dad, he was probably born in exile, knowing nothing else except the old stories about the brethren that live in Jerusalem. But God has put a burden on his heart. You are who you are. You are where you are. You have the resources at your hands that I've given to you, and I burden you about your hometown. Don't go thinking too small of yourself, for there's a great big God that lives in you if you're a Christian. All things have become possible. Nothing is impossible. Well, then we look at chapter 2 there. And he says, it came to pass in the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, when wine was before him, that I took the wine and gave it to the king. Now I had never been sad in his presence before. Therefore the king said to me, why is your face sad, since you're not sick? This is nothing but sorrow in my heart. So I became dreadfully afraid and said to the king, may the king live forever. Why should my face not be sad when the city, the place of my father's tombs, lies waste, and its gates are burned with fire? Then the king said to him, what do you request? There are certain times that you are always looking for the smile. One of them is Christmas morning. If you're a young parent with children, you want to make sure that the kids are all smiling on Christmas morning. I remember having stayed up for 2 o'clock in the morning just to get everything right, just so we would get a smile, for fear there might not be a smile. And when you give a gift, you often want to find out that they're smiling. But it was very important for the king to get that smile, that okay, that it's fine to drink this wine or take of this food. He was the cupbearer to the king. But Nehemiah decided in his heart, God had laid on him a burden that he will not hide the sadness of his face. The king would look at him and say, but you're not sick, but yet you're not smiling. well, how can I smile when my hometown, the place of my ancestors, is in such destruction? We looked at it last week, and in our own area, we would say, well, this is not in destruction. Everything is being built up. It's new, and new people are moving in. And yet we would have to say, let's take away the physical look and look at the spiritual look. I can guarantee you, everyone who moves into the area needs the fellowship of believers. Everyone. They may not know it yet. Some of them may not even be Christian yet. But everyone needs the fellowship of Christian believers. In fact, Jesus told us that I give to you the church. This is my body. And he gives to us the church that we might have strength in number, that we would never go it alone. You were born into community. Whether community happened or not was up to your parents. But you were born into community, and God knows that we need touch. We need one another. And everyone that moves into the area needs Christian fellowship. Everyone. The other one is everyone that moves into the area needs Christ. There are many distractions out there, many other kinds of religions calling their name, many other kinds of things to believe in calling their name. But there's a church in the area. There's a gospel being preached. There's a gospel being lived. And the walls are down if Christ is not the center of the home. When Christ is the center of the home, then you've got it made. But when Christ is not the center of the home, the devil moves in and all kinds of things take place. It can happen to Christian and non-Christian alike. And the whole thing is, be sure you walk with Christ. Make sure that Christ is the center of your home, nothing else. The business is second. The relationships are second. Christ is number one. And if Christ is not number one in your life, the walls are down, and Nehemiah is traveling on horseback looking to see the destruction that came to Jerusalem. We need to be caring for our community, but looking for the opportunity. He finds the opportunity there, and he is not afraid of the big. He will go before the king and ask, I would like to go to my hometown. Good. Now, 1,000 miles. I don't know how far Hawaii is. We've been one time. But that trip over the ocean, some of you like to go to Hawaii. That's great. That was a long trip. But if you tell me, here's your horse, you're fixing to go 1,000 miles. I'm thinking, I can barely do that in a van. We did get the little RV. We've gone 4 hours away. You know how long he'd be gone? 3 weeks. 3 weeks on horseback, making that, I think it's 3 months. That's a fast horse. Some of you horse people would know all of that. I can't imagine being saddle sore, and he probably didn't have a saddle. I don't know. But can you imagine? He's not afraid of the big. I've got to make the trip. That's 1,000 miles. But you know what else he's going to ask? And King, not only would I like to go, I'd like for you to pay for it. The reconstruction of my hometown. Let me use the king's forest to harvest the wood to reconstruct the walls around my hometown. He's not afraid of the big. Listen to what it says. So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. Furthermore, I said to the king, if it pleases the king, let letters be given to me for the governors of the region beyond the river, that they must permit me to pass through till I come to Judah. And a letter to Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel which pertains to the temple, for the city wall, and for the house that I will occupy. And the king granted them to me according to the good hand of my God upon me. You know what I hear from that? You have not because you ask not. The question is, are we afraid to ask? Sometimes the devil can play with us and say, who are you? And he'll certainly run up against that. Are you sure you're hearing that from God? And is that, in fact, too big of a task for you? What do you think? You were born in exile. You're probably supposed to stay in exile. But no, God burdened him with a burden about his own community, 1,000 miles away. Well, don't be afraid of the big. Number 3, share the need, discover the need, and share it. He had said, King, I need you to write letters to the governors. And so what you have, you've got a king, and they would conquer various lands around them and appoint a governor over them, and that's what happened to Israel a lot. They would have the king or the Caesar in Jesus' day, and then to have someone who was overseeing it for the emperor or the king. And he said, I need to have these letters to get me through so that they know full well this is authorized by the king. You and I need not be afraid of the big. Jesus says, go ye therefore and make disciples, teaching them to observe all things I've commanded you, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And lo, I will be with you always. Who's authorizing you? The King of Kings. We do not need to be afraid. I'm preaching to myself here because the culture has changed and I know that it's harder to get out. But I'm burdened about our community. If we don't fulfill it, somebody else will. If this church does not do it, somebody else will. Let us step forward and do it. He discovered the need, and then he began to share it with all of those governors that he might make through it. Then listen to what he says here. I told them of the hand of my God, which had been good upon me, and also of the king's words that he had spoken to me. So they said, let us arise and build. Then they set their hands to this good work. This is just me. I can just tell you right now the way that I think ministerially. God is working in you. Now, he's working in me. But the way that he's working in me is the fact that God is working in you. My antennas are out for how God is working in you. My ears are open to how God is working in you. And then we say, let's go for it. Let's do it. Let's resource it. We could pull together. And so we find here that he shared what God was doing in his life. And they said, let us arise up and build. Don't, number 4, lose focus on God. Opposition will come. You know who the first opposition will be? Yeah, it's an outside force, but it's an inside job. Peter, in the ship. Jesus walking on water. That's impossible. That's too big. Peter says, give me the opportunity to do that too. Come on, Peter. And he gets out of the boat, begins to walk on water. To our knowledge, nobody else has walked on water except for Jesus and Peter. That does not make Peter the Pope. He was not the first pastor. But he did say, give me that opportunity. Come on. I welcome you out into the deep. And he began to walk on the water until he looked around and looked at himself and said, I shouldn't be able to do this. Look at how massive these waves are. Look how large this ocean is. And he begins to sink in the depths, and Jesus picks him up. O ye of little faith. What's the opposition? The opposition is looking at yourself and saying, who am I? Who am I? Other people are big, but who am I? Nehemiah's going to say, who you are, where you are, what you have, all these things God has put in your life. Don't go questioning who you are. Don't lose focus on God. Opposition will come. Listen to it in Nehemiah's story. But when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard of it, they laughed at us and despised us and said, what is this thing that you're doing? Will you rebel against the king? So I answered them and I said to them, the God of heaven himself will prosper us. Therefore we, his servants, will arise and build. But you have no heritage or right or memorial in Jerusalem. They're saying, who are you? You're going in opposition to the king. He said, no, I serve the King of Kings. And King Artaxerxes was at the hand of the King of Kings to let him go and to finance the whole project, simply because there was one who took the opportunity. Now, what does it take to succeed? I'm just going to give you these few things here. Why is it that people don't succeed? Why is it people don't fail to take the opportunity? Why is it people fail to capitalize on the opportunity that God puts in their way? I'm going to give you 10 different things here. 1, the lack of self-discipline. How do you get self-discipline? Here's just a few clues. Increase your stress tolerance levels. Some people don't like stress at all, so we run to the escape. Computer, phone, TV, etc. No stress. 2, how do we have self-discipline? By meditating. David says, I meditate upon the Lord day and night. The focus of my attention is upon the Lord, nothing else. 3, removing distractions. Self-discipline says, I'm focused, I'm moving forward in this direction. But you and I both know we got something in our pocket or purse that's always distracting us. Well, I've got to answer the phone. Yes, you do. But I tell you, you can lose focus right quick. If you're my age, you get focused on going into the room after something. When you arrive in the room after something, then you start to think, what was I coming into the room for? And you have 10 things on your mind, and sometimes you may leave the room to go somewhere else to get what we were focused on, only to come back to, that's the reason, that's why I'm here. It's easy to get distracted. What's another one? Breaking bad habits. Postponing unbeneficial behaviors. Making plans and rewarding yourself for accomplishing your goals. There's that old saying that says, the failure to plan is a plan for failure. Put it down. Make the plan. Tolerating a higher level of emotional discomfort. Exercising regular. The lack of self-control. The lack of self-discipline, number 1. Number 2, a lack of persistence. A lack of persistence. When the going gets tough, they say, the tough get going. The persistent continues. But right there at that place, many fall off. When it gets difficult, we quit. Persistence says we endure. We get over this mountain. The little lady said, the reason the mountains are there is so you can get over the mountains. And Jesus said, you can move these mountains. Get over the difficulty. Number 3, the unwillingness to swim against the current. We all want to be accepted. We all want to be approved, and nobody wants to be talked about. I love, when I was growing up, for those of you that are a little older, do you remember Candid Camera? And there was one incident where they went into the elevator, and everybody decided they would turn backwards in the elevator. They got to the 6th floor, the person comes in, and everybody's face backwards. And they're looking around, but sure enough, the pressure to swim with the crowd is there. And so they turned around with them. When the door opened, they all had to turn back around. It just says peer pressure is pretty high. But if you're going to make a difference, you got to swim against the crowd. Swim against the current. There are many churches right now that are finding the current of the culture and caving, bending. We've got to swim up culture, upstream, about stream. Number 4, a lack of planning. Number 5, the fear of failure. Nobody likes to fail. They'll think, well, we're just stupid. We get out there, we try something, but then we fail at it. Well, it was, I believe Robert F. Kennedy said this, only those who dare to fail greatly can ever succeed greatly. Favorite illustration there is the home run hitter, Babe Ruth. We all know him for the record number of home runs. What is never mentioned is he also had the record for the number of strikeouts. But if you're not willing to fail, you never will succeed. And so there's got to be that risk. Well, did Jesus ever talk about a risk? Yes, he said one man had 5 talents, one man had 2 talents, one man had 1. And he expected there to be an investment. And when the man that had 5, he said, okay, well, what have you got? You took the opportunity. Well, I've got 10. Great. What have you got? Well, you gave me 2. I've got 4. Great. What have you got? You gave me 1. And I was too afraid. So, but I did hang on to that. Here's the 1. And Jesus said they took him out and threw him out. You've got a life that's been given to you. You've got circumstance, and he wants you to invest your life. You will produce fruit, but you can't do anything without him. So therefore, the willingness to fail. Number 6, wanting too much too quickly. Here it is. Sometimes people come, they've got huge visions, but they're not involved at all in the small stuff. And if they don't do the small stuff, you never get to the big stuff, because there's a principle in the Bible that goes like this. He who is faithful in the small is granted the greater. You got to be willing to do the small work in order to achieve the greater work. Think big. Well, Nehemiah thought big. We're going to rebuild that wall. God has given it to me. We're going to do it. It's 1,000 miles away. Now, what's the small stuff? 3 months of travel. Well, I didn't think it's going to be like this. I mean, I must have been a fool to think that I could do this. I'm on a horseback and traveling for 3 months. The small stuff. Accomplish that. Don't go too quickly. Number 7, the lack of belief in yourself. The culture would say, hey, it's all about you. Believe in yourself. God's given you great talent and all that. But here's the Christian response. The lack of belief in God. God can work in your life. Well, but I've got this and I've got that. By the way, the next one is excuses. It's somebody else's fault. It's some other circumstances come in. There's always an excuse why I didn't succeed. Believe in God. Believe in God in you. When He burdens you, He foots the bill. He equips you for everything He's called you to do. Believe in God in you. Here's another one. The lack of humility. Well, we know what the scriptures say about humility, that when we come before the Lord humbled, He raises us up. But here's another word. Without humility, we are not teachable. Without humility, we say we know it all. We never do depend upon anybody else because we know it all. Humility says, I've taken a realistic look at myself, and there's some things I know and many things I don't. I think it was Thomas Edison who grieved the fact that he would die before he read every book in that library. He said, well, he was a genius. Yeah. He was also humble, realizing what I do know, I know. But most of the stuff out there, I don't know. I'm learning. I'm a student. Number 10, the unwillingness to network. God has put people in your life for a reason. You know how we are in marriage. Opposites attract. Right? What you're good at, your mate may be weak at, but what she or he is good at, you may be weak at. You know what it is like? The church. Church is filled with people that can do things I can't do. And so therefore, He wants us to be sure and realize this is a body. The eye does not say, well, I want to be the mouth. Well, that'd be a foolish thing. Let the eye be the eye and the mouth be the mouth. And the foot be the foot and the head be the head. Let's all do our part. And when they did, the wall God built. Give you 7 questions here. Am I too quick to give up? Am I open for advice? Do I learn from my past mistakes? Do I stay focused or distracted? Am I afraid to move forward? Am I afraid to take responsibility? Our care for our community says God will burden us about the place where we live. God will equip us with all things needed. Let us, therefore, go and build as God directs us. May the Lord be accomplished in New Hope Baptist Church life and in each of your lives. Jesus says, in the flesh, as He came as the Son of God, I can do nothing without Him. You might say, well, there's many things that I can do without Him. I mean, well, He gives you the breath of life. But you'll never be able to do anything of eternal consequence without God. God in us is the greatest combination. It's the Lord's will. If I abide in you and you abide in me, it's all possible. Would you stand with me now?